Yeah, hi team, this is Ashwin, and I'm here to talk about the tool that is Azure Security Baseline Assistant 2.0. This is basically a tool that you can use if you want to secure your Azure infrastructure. So first time when you're using the tool, you have to select a project plan. In my case, I'm going to select New, but if you're returning to the tool, you can select Existing. Once I'm inside the tool, it actually comes with the welcome screen. It talks about the utility of this tool and basically what are the domains that it is actually going to cover and the description of the same. And once you've read this, you can either click Next or you can click on the top to the initial configuration. Here, you're going to put the details of your team. Basically, you're putting the user details, and then you can put the details of the technology that the organization is currently using, and you can use the devices, the system, that are a part of the organization. You can see that all those that we actually added here shows a below. That's a kind of confirmation that you have written it properly. And if you need to add more users, you can actually put them in a comma-separated value. Now, once that is done, you can either click Next or go to the Domain section. In the Domain section, you can see on the top, you have a drop-down where you can select the domain that you want to work with. And in this case, I'm going to keep selecting the Governance and Strategy domain. And the first thing that you see is a description of that particular domain. And after that, you have a status. This is basically a maturity status of that domain in your organization. Because we are using this tool for the very first time, we basically don't have any status assigned. It's basically pretty much non-existent. And while we work with the system will automatically calculate the status and will assign it here. Now then after that, you have the list of services below that. And then if you expand the service, you have the list of controls that you see inside them. If you expand the first service, first control, you see the description of that control. Basically tells you which phase or which function of NIST it's a part of, whether it's a part of identity, whether it's a part of protect and things like that. The moment you select a phase or the function, then the corresponding group can be selected below. Basically, when you select a protection, you have a different set of selection. So it is completely linked to the phase. In this case, I'm going to select a governance. Then the next option is you can select a status. So you can basically either have it not applicable, or basically if this control is not something that you wish to actually work on, or you can basically say to be decided, or you can say it's scheduled and completed. We'll come back to the linked a little bit later. So I'm going to select completed for now, because if this is actually an activity that was completed. So I will basically say it was completed last week, it started on Monday, and it finished on Friday. So that's the number of days that actually worked on it. And then you basically can look at the people who are working on it, and you can put the technology, you can put the device, and then basically the notes section. So you can actually put some kind of notes here. I'm going to keep this is a test note. Now, basically you have two more functions here. One is basically the guidance. It's more or less like a guidance that you can write here. So whosoever is the user is using this or working on this particular control, they can actually look at here. The advantage of the guidance is this is a complete rich text editor. So you can actually put whatever formatting that you need. And the same is the case with the detail notes. So you have an RTE or rich text editor available for the detail notes. Accordingly, you can decide what needs to be written. So based on the control requirements, you can actually write them, and it will be quite useful for the team who's end up working on it. So once you have done with this particular control, I'm going to get to the next one. So here, I can actually select, again, it's the same scenario. I have the phase selected, I have the group, I'm going to select it to governance. And in this case, I would probably want to link this to the selection or to basically the 70.2. So what I actually have to do first of all is if I have to link any control to this, first I need to convert this into a master control. For that, I just need to simply click on this checkbox and then go to refresh it. And if you expand that, now you will find that it is actually added as a master control. Now what happens is when you go to the control that you need to link to, so you can actually expand it and select linked, and then you go to the link to, and then you basically select the one that you just promoted as the master. Now you can actually see that there's no data available here. That's because you can actually go to the top and then click on the refresh data. Now once that is done, you can see that on the second particular control you have all the data taken up from the master control. Now when you close that particular master control or change any status with the master control, it will be impacted everywhere it is linked to. Okay, and then basically that's how you can work with the different controls. And then once you have done with it, you can actually go to the next domain and work further on that. Now I'd like to actually show you one more feature. That is, let's say for example, I have a particular domain that is DevOps security, which I'm not really using because I don't have any DevOps cycle. What you can do is, either you can go into that domain and completely select not applicable for that particular domain. Or else, let's say for example, I actually want this domain, but I definitely don't want some of the services that are available inside it. So I'm basically going to actually go to the one that I don't need, and then I can select disable the service. So that's not going to be there in any calculation going forward. So let's say actually once we have done with the activities, or while we are done for the day, we can go to the chart or download section where you can see the status in a graph. So you can actually see all of the charts that are available to you. Basically it shows you the overall picture of all the domains. Then you actually get an idea of how your status update is looking at from the different phase of the NIST framework. And the same is the case with the different categories available. And you actually can see a table below which actually says if the percentage of the completion is between these, you can actually call yourself at that particular maturity level. And this is exact calculation that's going to take to automatically move the domain from one maturity level to another. So when you're actually done for the day, what you can do is you can download the basic maturity chart, basically if you want to email it to somebody else, or you can actually download the phase chart, or even you can download the group chart. So that's the three charts that are available here. And then if you want to actually download the project plan that you worked on today, and if you want to work with the system tomorrow, then you probably need to export the project config. And the other option is, if you want to actually see what's the utilization of the resources, then you can download the resources. Now I'm actually going to open up each of them. So this is basically the chart that you have. It's the exact same chart that you see in the case that is in the tool. And this can be something that you can put in an email for a better understanding of where you stand. And then coming to the situations in terms of the project plan. So the project plan looks like more or less an activity chart. So it actually tells you a task that is involved, who is doing it, whether it is linked to something, and what's the user working on, what technology and what devices are actually related to it. And it actually also has the plain text notes added as a part of that. So this is something that you can use as an email if needed. And then basically you have the resources that were added into the system. So if you click on the resources, you can actually see that these resources were having a status active, true, and false. That means you might have a lot many resources added in the initial configuration, but you may not have assigned it to a control. So this is a way to find that who are the active resources in that system, or which resources are you currently working. All right. And then coming to the last part, that is going to be the configuration file. That's basically needed when you need to reload the file. So basically you're coming back to the tool tomorrow and it's going to start like this. Then you basically can select existing and then choose the file that is actually created and then click proceed. Now what is that going to do is it's going to actually fill up all the things that you actually filled up. It's going to have the details of the domain that you actually selected. So if you go back to that the DevOps security, you can basically find that some of the things that we actually disabled, stage disabled, and things like that. So that's basically an overview of this particular tool. I'm hoping that's going to be quite useful for you to create a secure Azure infrastructure. And if you have any questions, please let me know in the comment section or connect me with on the LinkedIn. And if you need to see other tools that we have made, you can go to the tools section and then you will find many other security related tools in this particular site. Alright, and have a nice day, and let me know if you have any queries, please.